in your kits, you'll have 3 different kinds of erasers. So this is the white plastic high polymer eraser. This is called a kneaded eraser, or it's often referred to as a gum eraser. And this is a mechanical eraser that has the same core as this type of material. And the core is a long, kind of hard core that you can use an X-Acto blade to sharpen to get tight details. Okay, so these are the 3 required erasers. But let me show you a couple of different other kinds of erasers that are really convenient to have. This is also a mechanical eraser, but the core is fatter. I mean, this is dark because it's been used with charcoal. So the core is fatter and it's softer. So it's not as convenient for doing particular kinds of details. It's nice to have a variety of sizes so that you can use it for different areas. But I want you to have this small one for sure, so that you can do detail areas around the eyes and the nose and the mouth and then the hair. And then you have what's called a bag eraser. That's good for kind of smudging things around. This I use for large charcoal drawings that are not detailed portraits. And this is not required. I'm just showing you that it exists. The other thing that you have is this light brush. The brush comes very wide, and I ripped them into 3 pieces so that when you do erase, every time you erase, you create this debris, and you don't want to blow it or wipe it away with your hands. So there's nothing on the paper right now, but if I were drawing with charcoal and I blow it, you frequently spit when you blow, and wherever your spit lands, little droplets on the paper and the charcoal will make a dark spot in that area. And if you wipe it, of course, you're just wiping away the charcoal. So this is a very soft, delicate brush that has like I don't know what you call that, but it's a kind of a jagged, soft tip. And if you delicately brush away, right, then you can get the shards off, the debris off, without wiping it with your hands or blowing. There's also another brush that's a soft brush that's used for that purpose when drawing. The reason why I don't just have you buy this, you can if you want, it's just a little bit more expensive, but also there's a lot more surface area, so when you're wiping away, you have the potential of wiping away more charcoal than you want. This allows you to control. That being said, this is also a really great brush for spreading around the charcoal if you want. So you can put a swatch of charcoal and spread it around and use this nice light brush. This is a little bit thicker, and so this is good for spreading around charcoal. But a brush like this is too heavy and thick. It'll wipe away too much charcoal if you're using it to just delicately remove the debris of the eraser from your paper. So this kneaded eraser, what it looks like when you first buy it in the package, and there's several different brands. This gray color is the best color to get. So the kind of blue or purpley colors are not as good, so I recommend that you have the gray color. This is in your kit, but if you were to replace it, you should get the gray color. Also, this is what it looks like after it's been removed from the package, and then it's been used a little bit, so it's a little darker. Okay. So it's like it's called a kneaded eraser because you need it like dough to use it, and the more you manipulate it, the warmer it gets, and it's not as brittle. When it's newer, it's a lot softer than it is when it starts to pick up a lot of charcoal. But this kneaded eraser will pick up debris, sand, hair, all kinds of stuff. So you want to have a little sort of sandwich bag to keep it in, to keep it protected from picking up debris. So obviously not on your drawing, but on a separate sheet of paper, if you rub it around, you can get some of that dark off. But when you're working with compressed charcoal, it's gonna get dark like that. So with the kneaded eraser, you can, it's best to either blot or roll rather than rub, right? So when you're blotting up, right, it's gonna pick up the charcoal, and you're gonna get to a point where there's too much charcoal on the surface, so you need to knead the eraser, right, to get the charcoal back off. It might be wise if you're trying to lift up some of the charcoal rather than using the kneaded eraser. This is a better accessory for lifting up some of that charcoal first, delicately, and then you can go in and lift and blot up maybe a little bit more. If you wanted to erase that, you want to blot up as much as possible before you go in there with this white plastic eraser, and you can lift up a little bit more, right? But you're not spreading around what was already there because you've lifted it up. So there's only a certain amount of erasing that you can do once you've stained the paper quite a bit. That's it. It will not get any lighter than that. So that's okay. You can actually make this some of the lightest areas in your drawing, and it appears as if it's kind of dark, but it's not. If you squint your eyes and compare this value to the white of the paper, right, it's kind of a lighter medium value, but if you compare this value to this really dark, that's very high contrast. So if you get your lighter areas this value, and you want the surrounding area, and you want this to look lighter than it is, then you want to make the surrounding areas a little bit darker. So that's called relative value. This eraser is really great for getting details because it has a really sharp edge. So you can go in there and get fine lines and all kinds of texture and details, right? And then once the tip gets dull, this tip is not dull right now, but after you use it, it will get dull. It's best to take your X-Acto blade and just cut off like a clean, sharp edge, and this will allow you to get details. So it's not going to erase this section where I did a lot of rubbing, but you can see that I can get very fine lines and textures. So this would be called erasure, and you can do the same kind of mark making with erasing that you can with adding. So you can add and subtract very easily and manipulate charcoal quite a bit more than any other medium. Also, you'll want to pick up some replacement cores for this mechanical eraser, right? Because students really like to use this, and it helps. You can get through the entire drawing with at least one additional replacement core. The other eraser I like to have in my arsenal is just one of these regular pencil erasers, but it's the same white eraser material as the high polymer white plastic eraser. And so this just gives you another level of control and size, right, to deal with. And it's because it's like a hard eraser. It doesn't bend a lot at first. And kind of a sharp tip, it allows you to get into areas that are a little bit wider than this detail, but not as wide as this. You can also cut this up to whatever size you want, right? So if you want a particular size or your eraser's dirty, you can just cut right into this and create a sharp edge that way. And this will allow you to make sharp lines, right? Long, sharp lines and texture that way. These are your 3 required erasers that you'll see in your kits, and any other erasers that you get are optional.